Things Christians post online, part 1. McDonald's can mess your order up 101 times and you'll still keep going back. But one thing goes wrong at the church and you quit. People just aren't hungry enough. Christians, when we post stuff like that, it does more harm than good. It may make you feel good to post it online, but it's not really helping anybody. It does prove two things though. One, you don't really get it, and two, you have an empathy problem. At Church Disrupted, we hear church hurt stories every day, and none of them are as small as somebody getting their order messed up. These are traumatic stories. These are highly spiritually abusive stories, and the church hurt is usually a really big deal. Such a big deal that it's affected people's trust of the institution of the church, or at times it's even affected their faith. And posting things like this just minimizes the pain people are going through and makes light of really serious situations. It also makes people think that we don't care about them, their hurt, their pain, or anything that they've went through. And instead of asking curious questions to find out what's going on with our brother or sister who we're supposed to love, we essentially blame them for their problems and blame them for being out of the church. It's their fault because they're just not hungry enough. It's ridiculous, it doesn't look like Jesus, and it doesn't help anybody. It may get you a few likes and amens online in the comments, but is it really worth it if it turns someone farther away from the church, farther away from Jesus, because it's just another person who doesn't take their hurt or their experience seriously? Guys, we have to do better, period. There's no excuse for posting stuff like this online as Christians. So maybe the next time you have the urge to post a pithy meme like this, maybe we put the phone down and have a snack, take a nap, or do anything else instead. Because literally anything else would be more helpful. Remember, Jesus said, we'll know each other by our love for one another, not our pithy, ridiculous social media posts.
You know, there are very few Christian posts that I actually agree with, to a certain extent, always. And to this one, to a certain extent, I agree with him. One of the most irritating things is when I get comments from Christians talking about, oh, you just church hurt, or you're mad at God, you're angry with God. Although I've expressed many times before, I am not church hurt, and I am not angry at a mythical being, because that makes absolutely no sense to be angry at a mythical being. Now, there are people who leave Christianity because the people in the church are so nauseating, are so irritating, so untrustworthy. They've done something to personally to that person. And many people do leave the church because of that, because they see that this God is not being worshiped or performed in the way that the people are supposed to, and so they leave. So church hurt is a real thing, but the reality that happens is Christians feel like, oh, if I can blame it on church hurt, then I don't have to express any knowledge base that would justify the belief in this book. And so by saying church hurt, it gives you an out to be able to not intellectually and critically think through this book. And for those who do experience church hurt, one of the first things they start doing is they start looking for evidence that this Bible is not correct. And then they end up leaving the church even more so, or the institution of the church, because they study and they realize how ridiculous this book is, how mythological this book is, and how it doesn't match up to history. And so they walk away from your church. Now, Christians, if you really wanted somebody to stay in your congregation, stay in your institution, then what you would do is try to teach them the reality of your book beyond the bullshit of, oh, just love, because this Jesus was not a being that was just about love. This Jesus talked about separating families. This Jesus talked about there will be those who call his name and all these sorts of things, and they won't know him and he won't know them. And it talks so much about how it is a very exclusive group of people, and most of that exclusivity goes towards Israelites and not the general population. Sure, you can talk about being grafted in, but that's something that some dude wrote to try to make it so that the Roman Empire can be facilitated into this church. It actually had nothing to do with how people were at that time frame. At that time frame, people believed that their God was for their people. Their God was not for all people. And that's been the mentality of almost every religion, which is why religion is segregated by either race or nationality or government. So y'all have a great day. And remember always, you have to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibration.